I
There you
did
go.
that. Sorry.
Welcome to Vista Center's Vista's Tech It Out with Vista Center. My name is Morgan Pimentel, and I am one of the assistive technology specialists with Vista. I'm thrilled that you've joined us for today's presentation. We are recording today's meeting, and if you do not wish to be recorded, you can either turn off your camera or exit the meeting. In a couple of weeks, today's presentation will be uploaded to our Vista website, vistacenter.org, under Assistive Technology, and then Tech It Out. It will also be uploaded to our YouTube channel, so please be sure to check us out, give us a like, and a follow. We hold these Tech It Out meetings monthly, every Friday, every first Friday of the month, unless otherwise specified. As an attendee today, your name will be on our Tech It Out mailing list, and you'll receive a meeting announcement 1 to 2 weeks prior to the next presentation. Our next Tech It Out will be held on Friday, April 3rd at 10 a.m. It will be virtual and everyone is welcome to attend. Normally, we hold question and answers after our presentation, after our presenters are finished speaking, but our presenter today has offered to do more of an open format. This is just going to be a conversation, so he will. So please stay muted for now, but if you do have a question, you can raise your hand at any time, and my co-host Alice will call on you. You can also feel free to unmute yourself if you know how to do that and ask your question. If you're not familiar with Zoom controls, on a PC, Alt plus Y is to raise and lower your hand. Alt plus A is to mute and unmute yourself. You can also hold down the space bar and then release to unmute yourself kind of on demand. If you're on a Mac, it's Option plus Y to raise and lower your hand. And then it is Command plus Shift plus A to mute or unmute yourself. And if you're calling in from a phone, it is *9 to raise and lower your hand, *6 to mute or unmute yourself. Without further delay, I am pleased to pass it along to Timothy Hornik. Hope I'm saying that right. uh,
Oh,
the, the sales and development manager for DotPad. Tim?
well, thank you, Morgan, and thank you, everyone, for having me on today and to just have a lovely chat about what is possible with the DotPad X as far as we can go with using it to leverage our existing screen readers and other solutions to access multiline Braille, as well as use a variety of different options to have fun with tactile graphics. So, kind of get things started, how many people have heard of the DotPad or even been able to experience it? And you can just raise your hands, and just my good way of seeing, folks that are aware of it, that have been able to experiencing it in some capacity. Okay, so looks like it's an all new room, which is fantastic. Awesome. Thank you, Beth. And the reason why I just asked that, because, when we think about multiline Braille, it's been one of our community's goals for a very long time. And this is nothing against single line displays. It's just there's something about now having access to multi-line displays where we can access Braille like we kind of never have before. Well, correction, like we never been able to do digitally before, because in essence, the cool part about multiline Braille is it brings to us the ability of having a refreshable display that's almost like reading hard copy or print Braille, where we're able to get stuff that contains formatting and spacing that is the way documents would appear if we're talking about it visually with print. And this has just been one of the awesome parts with being around Dot and being able to experience it, is that we do have this capability. And not just multi-line Braille, we also have the ability of working with our own tactile graphics, with being able to review certain types of tactile graphics in a way that we never have, in a refreshable manner. And I'll go over exactly how we can do all those as we are talking. And as Morgan said, if you have any questions as I'm going through, please feel free to chime in. That I do want this to be a good back and forth conversation, because I want to make sure I'm able to get to all of your questions as we're coming up. And if there's something that just happens to get to you at the spurred moment, something I said, feel free just to chime in, because I'd like to make sure we can get all of your questions addressed immediately. So to get things started, I am going to do my best to position a dot pad over in my camera view so we can have a brief chat about what is the dot pad. Well, it is a multi-line and refreshable tactile graphics display. And the one that I have in front of me is going to be exactly the way all dot pads will be. And what it is we have two displays, which is kind of unique whenever we're talking about Braille devices, is how many Braille devices do you know have two displays, two areas for being able to output? Well, the dot pad does. And what we have, the main display that most people are going to be thinking about is a 8-line by 20 cell display if you're going with multi-line Braille. And if we're talking about tactile graphics, then we're talking about an array that features about 300 cells, or the equivalent of 2,400 pins, which we are able to use to create graphics. And so this is going to be the main part that is on top. We then, below that, we have 6 navigation buttons. And no, we do not have a Perkins style keyboard, and no, we do not have cursor routing. What we do have are 6 navigation buttons, starting from the left to the right. We have our left pan, our F1, F2, F3, F4, and our right pan. The left and right panning are arrow shaped, and the F1 through F4 function keys are oval shaped, with the F1 and F4 featuring a little notch that will help you identify it quickly. And what do they do? Well, the simple answer is it depends on what you are using the dot pad with. So VoiceOver, dot Canvas, and NVDA will have a very similar setup on how it's using the left and right pan to scroll through Braille text that appears on the single line display. F1 through F4 will pan the top display or the slide deck, and F2 and F3 is the equivalent of a home or escape or double tap or enter, depending on what it is. And JAWS does all this a little bit differently. And I'll explain all this when I do break down all the screen readers. So below the single line display, we are below the navigation buttons. We have a single line display that is a 20 cell display. Now, once again, why do we have the two displays? Well, because when we are working with tactile graphics, especially with like VoiceOver or with dot canvas, we're able to feel the tactile graphic on the top main display, and then the bottom part is going to output in whatever your Braille table is set to. It will output that description. So dot canvas, you're able to input your own text description of all the images that you might create. With VoiceOver, it will output what the VoiceOver is saying. So say if you're on your home screen, you may have the phone app on the top conveyed in a tactile format. And then on the bottom, it's going to be what VoiceOver said in Braille, phone with however many notifications. Now, the dot pad does feature two USB-C ports on the left and right side, and we do have on the side little Braille representation for D for data and C for power on the left and right side. So you know which side you're going to connect data to and which side you're going to do power to. Why would you be using a data port? Well, data port is if you are like me and you are using it with JAWS and you just happen to be old school and love things being tethered to your computer, well, that is a very great way of being able to access multi-line Braille with JAWS if you don't want to use Bluetooth. The data port is also used for updating the firmware of the dot pad, as well as custom solutions that people are creating for the dot pad that they just might want to do that through data port means. And of course, the power port is going to be how you charge the dot pad. Now, charging the dot pad, how often do you need to do it? Well, not very often is my short answer. And the reason for that is we have all day battery life is a nice way of saying we will be able to get many, many, many hours out of the dot pad. How many depends on usage because the only time you are using battery with the dot pad is as the cells are refreshing or when you do connect it with like Bluetooth, that's just low energy. Other than that, usually the dot pad is not consuming much for energy. And so that's why we're able to get a really long battery life out of it. I have heard people get anywhere from 16 to 20 hours plus. And for those of you that might have seen us at any of the conventions or conferences, I will say that usually I only need to charge the dot pad about every other day or so at those. And that's after sitting at the booth all day and demonstrating the dot pad to a wide range of folks. So it truly is all day battery life. And now, what other specs about the dot pad? It weighs about 2.2 pounds and is roughly the size of a 11-inch iPad Pro. In fact, if you buy a dot pad, it comes with this cute satchel. And inside the satchel, you can easily pop in a tablet, a small computer. Say you got like a ThinkPad, or even those of us that are like using a MacBook Air, 13-inch MacBook Pro, or 14-inch. You can easily throw all that inside of the satchel because the dot pad is quite small and portable that you can take it around. So, with that, any general questions about the description of what the dot pad is like from that physical perspective?
Morgan, I do have a couple questions.
Yes, Morgan.
Great. So the first is just to confirm, you'd mentioned that at the top of the display, using the iPhone as an example, that it would, display all your icons. So it's going to take, like, for example, phone and kind of display a phone. Is that
Yes, it will display that app. So VoiceOver is quite unique in that VoiceOver is the only screen reader that has the ability of outputting tactile graphics. So as you come across an image or like you're on your home screen, you're going across your apps, it's going to be displaying those app icons in a tactile format. You come across, those audio graphs that like you're on the weather or stocks app or, apps that actually know how to create graphs. And you get that option of, if you swipe up or down with the rotor action, it says, hear it. So those are all accessible graphs that VoiceOver is able to output to the dot pad exactly the way that graph looks. And it is quite unique in that it's like, oh, look, there we go. Now I get to see kind of the forecast or the stocks or in my health app in particular, be able to see how that chart looks. Well, usually those are usually line graphs, so you get that line.
How does it do with like I'm thinking like diagrams. I kind of love to like put things together. So like diagrams with colors. Like also is there any way that it kind of distinguishes colors in any sense?
No, there is
Yeah.
not. So
Okay.
unlike with like the graffiti where you got the multiple adjustments within their pins, our dots ourselves are either up or down, and so we don't have that gradient capability to determine grayscale or other type of colors based on brightness. And while I kind of mentioned the cells there, so here's a couple of neat things about the cells. The cells are different from your traditional Braille display cells. The cells themselves use a electromagnetic latching system that refreshes the entire display in 3 milliseconds. And so we're talking about refreshing it very, very fast. In fact, it's fun when I do got it hooked up to like my screen reader and I'm typing, just as it's, constantly going as I'm typing, it's keeping up with me as I am typing. It is also finger on capable. So that means you don't really need to lift your hands off the display. And I say that kind of it's not going to push against your fingers like a lot of other Braille displays. What it will do is, as you are moving around, it will refresh, and so you never have to worry about having any ghost dots or ghost pins raised with it. That it's always going to be actively refreshing. And so, as you are reading now, again, you're reading 8 by 20 lines, so upwards of 160 characters. And so by the time you get down to the bottom, get your finger back up over to the top left-hand corner to continue reading, that screen has completely refreshed. In fact, it's been great taking it around. And when you get those really, really fast readers, I'm a slow reader, just because hands only work so well nowadays. But when you get those really fast readers, it's absolutely great watching them read at the full number of words per minute that they possibly can, because they're able to read a lot of text at once before they need to pan or move to the next line or refresh. It is absolutely great. And even for those of us like myself, that's a slower reader. It allows me to have my time with reading to be able to understand, go through those paragraphs. And if I have to go back, I can go back because that information is there without having to pan. And so that's just one of the beauties of these cells and of multi-line displays in general. So, um, so with that, how many people here are voiceover users? And I figure I'll start with voiceover because it's oftentimes the one that we're all used to, especially those of us using iPhones and iPads as our primary mobile device. And we have also found that this being one of the most popular use case scenarios. So we have been working with VoiceOver for a number of years. In fact, our compatibility with VoiceOver, I think, came out in like 2020, so iOS 15-ish. So if you have a device that's that old that has not been able to be updated since iOS 15, well, guess what? The pad will work. Um, and what is absolutely fantastic about VoiceOver is VoiceOver will output, like we just, Morgan and I were just saying, it will output tactile graphics as well as multi-line Braille. And it's going to output based on the tables that you have set up over in your VoiceOver Braille settings, as well as any other options you might have set there. Where is it going to be able to pull from? Basically, any app where VoiceOver is able to interact with smoothly, you are going to have that same experience with the dot pad, because ultimately the dot pad is a terminal display. That means it's going to receive the information from VoiceOver and output it in the Braille table of your choosing. So some of the people's favorite usage that we've been hearing back from the community is a lot of people love Kindle. Whether they have Kindle subscriptions, whether they're using Libby and connecting Libby to their Kindle account, or just using Kindle. That's been a lot of people's favorite usages, diving into their books of choice and being able to read them, as well as Dolphin Easy Reader. That is such a beautiful app for any Braille display, but really with the dot pad, with being able to gain access to that multi-line Braille. So any of those PDFs and other things that you want to upload and read, that Dolphin Easy Reader app, especially with that Braille display mode, it is a fantastic way of consuming materials. Um, Also, news, mail, all those other fun apps that we normally use. Yes, you can do it all with it. Personally, what I love doing with the dot pad is I've gone into those voiceover Braille settings, gone down to the dot pad where you connect to it, go over to the more options and I remap the navigation buttons to have it be able to command those voiceover controls that I like to use. So different parts of the rotor, being able to do rotor navigation, even using Braille access. I have remapped a Braille access key command with the dot pad so I can gain access to Braille access and be able to use some of those tools. Now, I will do a caveat right now that we are requesting all of our users, as well as we have sent feedback to Apple that uh, the community would love Braille access to support multiline. Right now, it does not support multiline, so it's just up on that single line display. So that's one where, if you happen to be a DotPad user or interested in DotPad and getting access to multiline Braille and Braille access, please send the wonderful team over at Apple a request saying that would be nice to get Braille access to support multiline Braille. Because where I see this being a very huge, awesome impact, not just us being able to read BRF from the BRF reader, the live captioning. That would be absolutely awesome for our deafblind folks to be able to gain multi-line access to those things. So there's my little advocacy plug.
Mhm.
Alrighty,
Yeah,
Morgan. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
Sorry.
yeah.
This is Alice. Yeah, no, I
Hey,
just saw a
Els.
couple of hands up and wasn't sure if they were still left over from your request. So Margaret is one and Morgan is the other.
Yeah, let's go with Margaret.
Oh, okay. I think that was left over. So she's got her hand down now. Okay, Morgan.
Okay. So my question is really quick. So I'm going to use tables as an example. Like, let's say I
Mhm.
have a table up, right? Can I essentially use the dot pad somehow to click on something in that table? You know what I mean? Like visually go
Mhm.
to it and click on it instead of having to still navigate with voiceover all the way through it and find it.
So my short answer, as you could tell by my pause, is going to be
Mm-hmm.
a no
No.
but. Um, so with the navigation buttons, you can control your voiceover cursor. So you can press the F4 plus the right pan or the F1 plus the left pan to go and perform the one finger swipe and then like use the F2 as your double tap. But no, it does not have like the interactive touch like the new apps multi-line braille display does or the Monarch, where you do that long command process to go ahead and basically do cursor routing.
Yeah, yes. You can just like it's kind of like using a mouse on a computer.
Correct. Yeah. So we
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
we do not have that with the dot pad. And as far as like tables goes, I'll talk a bit more about that because the way that JAWS does it is absolutely beautiful and how it displays tables. With VoiceOver, it's kind of going to give tables as if it's what we'll call wrap mode. So it's not going to exactly format a table, but it's going to give you all the information in that table in a continuous flow as if it was like, reflowed. But when I talk about JAWS, I'll say something that's very beautiful about how JAWS is able to display rows and columns. And so you could track down a row or track across a column of data with the dot pad. And it's quite a thing of beauty, tell you the truth. So
Deborah has a question. Looks
yes,
like
Deborah.
she's raised her hand again.
Hey, so I actually have two questions,
Mhm.
but if you want me to go to the end of the line for the next one, that's fine.
Oh,
I'm curious about the internal BRF reader. One of the things that I found frustrating with mini braille displays is that a document that's formatted for embossing doesn't work so well because you have to scroll through tons of blank lines. Have you managed to fix that so it works more like the NLSE reader?
so we do not have a internal BRF reader inside the dot pad. It's going to
Ah,
be
okay.
going off of whatever app. And that's kind of why I kind of mentioned just the BRF reader within Braille Access as kind of that. It doesn't really do reflow very well. We do have an app called Dot Books that you can upload BRFs into and read. And I know one of the future updates is going to be working with better reflowing. So when you do it, it does present it as a better interface, other than like you're saying when you upload yeah, when you upload something BRFs like you do get from NLS Bard, into another device where it gets that little fragmented appearance. So it's my nice way of saying kind of once again, we are really reliant on this those apps and those other solutions versus something internal to the dot pad itself.
So I can hold my other questions or ask them
No,
now?
no, keep going, keep going.
Okay, so is your documentation available for someone who doesn't have a dot pad to just read?
Yep, I can send it all over to Morgan and
That would be
share it
excellent. Yeah,
with
I
the
would
group.
like to read it.
Yeah,
And also just for the audience, I am one of the field testers for the Monarch, but I actually think the dot pad, which I saw from Sterling Adaptives, is far more sleek and easier to carry around. So that's something to
yeah.
think about if you want a tablet that you can easily carry. It's the dot pad is hands down much better. And that's all I have to say now. I'll go back on mute.
Yeah. I will say something. So the if anyone has ever experienced the Monarch, please note that those cells that you felt on the Monarch are dots. We make the cells. That's part of, we have that partnership with HumanWare and APH to produce for them the cells. So the main difference in that experience, the tactile experience between the Monarch and the dot pad is that's a 10 by 32 array, and we are a 8 by 20. So we're a little bit smaller, but overall, it's the same feeling. It's the same arrangement of the cells. It's the same, well, because they're the same cells. The only difference is those are also our prior generation cells, which is for those folks that are used to the Monarch, you kind of have to do the raise your hands. Like I said, with the dot pad, you don't have to. And instead of having that waterfall type of cascading effect that you do with the Monarch, ours are just quite a bit faster. So, and thank you for that one because yeah, it is a good. There's some good similarities there. And I do look at each device as they have their case and purpose between the two. So I'll never say one is better than the other. It's just based on what we need to access or what's our workflows with them. Because, you know, it's to each their own. Personal preference is fantastic. And I love that we have in the AT realm more and more uh, devices coming online that will be able to hit all of our particular preferences better than ever before. So, but thank you for that one. Was there any other questions? Alrighty. So just moving on, just have a quick chat about JAWS. So JAWS has done some very beautiful things with how you can leverage the dot pad. We've done a couple of joint presentations with us and Liz, that's part of the Vispero training team, as well as if you check out our podcast, Raising the Dots, our January and yeah, our January episode features Joe Stevens, who wrote the multiline Braille support for uh, JAWS, especially for the dot pad. Yeah, it's a great way of learning out more about it. So JAWS kind of has a slightly different approach. Of course, multiline Braille is going to be multiline Braille. It's all powered through the settings of JAWS. You could connect to it via USB-C cable or through Bluetooth. You just go into your JAWS, go into your Braille settings, and go through that connection process. And the truly neat part of JAWS, kind of going to what Morgan was asking about tables, is say you're on a table or an Excel spreadsheet. You could go ahead and have it set up so you could have a grid of information. So you can have it so you could, based on how your table is structured and the information on it, you're going to be able to track down that column and understand that column like never before. You're going to have a divider between the rows. So you could track across a row of data in order to read it. And of course, you could navigate just like you do with VoiceOver. You can navigate all of it using the navigation buttons and be able to just keep your hands on the display as you work your way through your JAWS documents, spreadsheets, and the like. The other really cool part of JAWS that kind of makes it very unique is how many people here has heard of the JAWS Braille split view mode? Okay. Uh, doesn't so the JAWS Braille split view mode, for those that have not used it before, is a fantastic way of taking your Braille display, and this will work for any Braille display, and divide your display into basically in half. And it's your choice on what you want that half to be. Do you want like a 1/3, 2/3, quarter, 3/4, 50-50 split? Um, and be able to have a active portion of where your JAWS cursor is and a area that you're holding, whether it's an area of information that you're holding from a different app, whether it's an area that is displaying your active area in a different Braille table. So say you're trying to learn computer Braille and you're normally using UEB2. Okay. I will get to that one about just kind of our method of getting around cursor routing without having it. But so the other cool parts with Braille split mode, especially as it related to the dot pad, is compared to your single line display where you're just doing this with a 20, 32, 40, or those of you that are using the 80 cells, you're splitting that single line. With the dot pad, you are dividing the screen, the dot pad's display um, vertically. So you can devote 4 lines and 4 lines, 3 lines and 5 lines, and just be able to have a lot more information on it. And there are several different Braille split view modes. Part of it is based on what application you're using. For example, Mail, you can have the top part display your message list, and then the bottom part will display that message preview. So you can read your messages list and start reading that email and pan each of them separately without having to go back over to your keyboard, go F6, Shift F6 to jump back and forth between those two areas. Um, like I said before, you can do a translate mode if you're trying to learn a different Braille table. If you're wanting to see how a document is structured visually, where it maintains all the formatting and annotations. That's where you're using like crop mode. And you can just do a whole lot more with the dot pad with those JAWS Braille split view modes. Now, the question that came up, like, how do we get around the fact that we don't have cursor routing? A couple of ways that we do this, and a lot of it goes down to the kind of what Morgan was asking about too, is we got the navigation buttons, and depending on the screen reader that we're using, will determine what the navigation buttons are doing. And so you can, with VoiceOver, you go over to the rotor, you can then start moving things by word or character, and then navigate by that within the rotor to be able to get to that. With JAWS, kind of a similar thing where you have the options of being able to move by as if you're using the up, down, left, right arrow keys, where you can move by line, by word, by character, and have that by using a combination of the buttons just on the dot pad. So that is our best way of, I'm going to say, working around the lack of a cursor routing option. And does that kind of answer your question?
My question.
The one that came in the chat.
Oh.
So yeah, so that is perfect. Thank you. Yeah, and so that's kind of our way of doing it. And like I said, it's I know exactly as looking at my Braille sense right next to me where it's like, yeah, those little buttons that does cursor running, it does wonders. But yeah, so that's kind of our way of being able to do it, and that's where I'll just say those navigation buttons and how they're assigned based on what we're doing is truly the thing that makes this unique. In that, yeah, we're able to do it. In a way, I'm just going to call it pseudo, but yeah, not doing it the way for those that are looking for cursor routing precisely. Some of the other cool things from JAWS is those that use the math viewer mode. That is absolutely fantastic of being able to get that full mathematical expression based on if you're a MathML fan or if you're a Nemeth fan, being able to go and have that done. Because once again, JAWS is powering it. The dot pad is just showing it. And this is the truly unique thing that I do like about the dot pad is it's not thinking for itself. So to go between different programs, you will be jumping back over to your keyboard to kind of switch between applications. If you do happen to, bring on a separate, like an Orbit writer type thing, if you want the Percocell full chords to be able to use, that is a possibility. But otherwise, you're going to be needing to do that through a keyboard to get between different apps, or go over to the start menu. And just to go and say that, going back over to VoiceOver with iOS and iPadOS, if you have not turned your keyboard into a Braille input, we're using ASDF JKL semicolon by using VOY. It is a very fun way of being able to get access to a Braille keyboard, aside from using the Braille screen input and Braille screen commander, by just connecting any type of Bluetooth keyboard to VoiceOver. For those that really like using Braille chords and just want to be able to still be able to do that while using the dot pad, it works quite nicely. That's one of the ways that I do it. So, okay, so with JAWS, that's a lot of the cool things that JAWS does. And there's going to be many more things. I know the team, our team and the team over at Freedom Scientific are really looking at different ways of leveraging all of the multi-line displays to be able to do more than ever before than just multi-line Braille. So there's going to be more coming out with that. Same thing. So we also do work with NVDA. NVDA, once again, you connect with USB-C, and through our NVDA add-on, you can also connect with Bluetooth, and also does what we'll call pseudo multi-line, and this is more of a NV Access type of feature request that they are working on, is being able to do full wrap mode with multi-line displays. Right now, if you are using NVDA with any multi-line display, you are just getting that bit of information that's in your cursor focus, and you don't get that continuous wrap like you do with VoiceOver and JAWS. But I do know the NV Access team is looking into that. The other kind of unique thing with NVDA is the way it does tables is different, is that it'll give you a 6x3 grid, tactile grid. And in each of those grid cells, you'll have the first two Braille characters of that cell. And then in that single line display, you'll be able to read the full contents of that cell. So it's kind of a unique thing that NVDA does. So that's kind of the basic broad stroke overviews for our main three screen readers. Any questions about screen reader interactions and how to use them?
There was one question I see. I don't know if it got answered or not. Of how can a user go from one program to another?
Yep.
This is in the chat, like
Yeah.
you would with. Did you already answer that?
Yep.
Sorry.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I missed.
No.
I missed that. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's good. Yeah, because I mean, and that's why I'll say, we're so much of just being used to using some of the Braille chords and being able to still get to that, and a lot of that's going to be based on screen readers and devices that we could connect into it. So kudos to the team over at Apple in, was it 26.3 or yeah, I think it was 26.3, where made being able to connect multiple devices through to the VoiceOver Braille settings possible. I know I've seen a couple of videos on one person that was able to connect a Orbit writer with a dot pad to their iPhone, and that was absolutely fantastic as being able to see that. So, but yeah, that's my quick. Okay, good question. How does VoiceOver know what you want to see? So, in the VoiceOver rotor items, there is this little mode that after you connect a dot pad to it, that is called Braille View. And the Braille View has 4 items. It has the default method, which is read. That means as you are coming across text, it's going to Uh, yeah, I'll get to that one too. So as you turn on the Braille view mode in the rotor, you get 4 options. Read, and it gives you a way of getting access to both Braille and text. And the things that are going to show up with text are images, graphs that are formatted according to whatever that Apple code is that gives us that audio graph type stuff. Even some buttons. So say like you're going across an app, it will and you got those visual buttons for like your gear icon or the triune or the um, back button, the home button. A lot of those will show it as a tactile button in that remote. You can set it to read without images. So then it's only going to give you Braille text no matter where you are. You could do images only, which will then just give you only images as it comes across them. And then the last mode, and it's one of my favorite modes, is called preview. And JAWS has kind of had a very similar, not JAWS, Apple in iOS 26 came out with a similar view for single line displays where you preview the first little bit of the next items VoiceOver is going to encounter. With the way that it works with the dot pad is it's going to give you the next 8 items that's in that swiping, as if you're swiping right. It's going to give you the first 20 characters of those next 8 items. And so that's a nice way of say you want to skim a document and you just want to you're in like the a news article, okay, and you just want to skim the first little bit of each paragraph that's coming up. Preview will give you that because as if you're swiping to the right, it's just going to give you those next items you're going to swipe right to. Same thing in like settings on the home screen, all that type of stuff where there's more than 20 characters, but you just want to preview the next 8 items, first 20 characters. It's a very, very nice way. So that's how you're able to distinguish with VoiceOver when you're going to get tactile graphics versus Braille. Of course, the other option is you can always make it so you VoiceOver does not interact with any images over in your VoiceOver settings, so that is a possibility. Now, for the question regarding screen recognition, in my experience with using that feature within VoiceOver, is that it won't display where those items are on the screen. It'll just kind of display them as they get produced. So it's not going to show you like, oh, here's the unlabeled button over here, because the way that VoiceOver is handling that at that moment is more like reading. But yeah, screen recognition, for those of you that have never used it, is a wonderful feature for working with inaccessible apps, websites, and that type of stuff. And you want to get a good understanding of what that screen looks like and to be able to interact with buttons that we otherwise may not be able to use. It is a wonderful feature there in the VoiceOver screen recognition section of your VoiceOver settings. So I'm just make sure
I had another question.
Yeah, go for it.
Just so this gets covered, because I don't want to forget it myself. How much does the dot pad cost?
Okay, I always love saying that with the last. So
Oh,
since you've asked it,
sorry.
how much do you think it costs?
5,000?
Close, very close.
6,000.
A little bit less. So yeah, 5,900. For ACB members, we are running a promotion where it's $300 off. And for everyone that buys through that promotion through the distributors, we will donate $300 over to ACB. So it's our way of doing mutual love for everything the ACB has done over the years. And I'm also working with the NFB for a very similar promotion that once it gets finalized, we'll get it out there. And kind of the way that I know when people hear that price, the nice way I like saying is, how much do some of the other Braille displays, like how much does your 80 cell Braille display cost? Um, and you start doing that price per cell, and that's where things kind of get very interesting.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I think Margaret also has a question.
yes, Margaret.
Oops, sorry.
All right, let's see. I got a couple questions, so I'll keep them quick. One, I went online or I ordered my dot pad online and I didn't get the opportunity to get the ACB discount online. And I just received my dot pad last night. Also, when I called Selvis, BOVD, whatever Selvis, the
Mhm.
salesman said that they didn't have that. They didn't know anything about it, the ACB, um, ACB discount.
I will get with Randy on that one. Um,
All right, so is
because
there any way I can still get that discount or no?
let me talk with Randy and Earl on that one
All right, I
over
will.
there.
Do you guys know my information on the
I
for the
could, if you want to,
registration?
if you, well,
No,
if
I
you want,
don't want to give it on the
no,
video
I was
because
going to
of
say, if you
the.
want to email me,
Okay,
um, nice, short, simple email. It's Timothy, Timothy, at .incorp, DOTINCORP.com, and I'll put it over here in a text in a moment.
okay. Okay, thank you. All right.
So,
My next question is in the notes app under voiceover, how do you get to the body of a note? I can only get to like the parts in the note. I can only get to the new note and the different buttons on it. I couldn't get to the body of the note inside it. How do you do that?
so on the iPhone, that is one of those areas. I'm getting over to my iPhone wherever oh, there's my iPhone. And I know exactly what you're saying with that one too, because so like, so the area that I listen for as I'm going is I usually put my fingers to focus right there in the middle, and then and I'll swipe over to the left and then to the right, and then you'll hear like subject or heading and double tap at that point, and then that should go and put the voiceover focus where it needs to be, and then voiceover will be able to output um, the it over to the dot pad as it is reading. I will go and say that it's generally, personally, I've limited my usage with notes over on the iPhone to reading, um, and then using a Braille screen input for typing, because I've noticed that as I'm going across it, sometimes it's easy for me to get off of the main notes area and kind of change out the focus from where I wanted it to be.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Other questions and comments? And for those that are interested in seeing the dot pad, I do know that one of our local distributors, Sterling Adaptives, is also very much in the area and could we could definitely set up something where folks that want to see it be able to link you guys up to be able to see the dot pad in person. And also with that, anyone going to CSUN next week? Because we'll have our booth over at 603, and anyone that wants to see our team and be able to experience the dot pad, just swing on by our booth area, and more than willing to show you the dot pad, as well as we do have a Braille labeler coming out that is called the gotcha. That's called the mnemonic dot, as well as some other items. So good case study for elementary school students. Now, are we thinking pre-Braille, early Braille literacy skills, or what level of skill levels are they? Because I have several thoughts on this one, and I want to get them all for you. Okay, sweet. Early Braille readers. So several different ways
Uh,
for this to
ju-
happen.
just wanted
Yes.
to interrupt for a quick sec. So Terry Ann has a question.
Oh, yeah. Terry.
Hello there. I think I know the answer to this question, but I'm
Mhm.
going to ask it anyway, Tim. I met you and Dave this past summer at
Mhm.
ACB, and that was really fascinating. And I did purchase a dot pad, but I haven't had a chance to unbox it yet to play with
What?
it. Yeah, I know. But I'll get there, I promise. But I know you would think I would have opened the box the day I got it, right? And yeah.
Oh, it's all good, Terry.
But anyhow, so am I correct that because you need a screen reader to work with it, you need another device like your iPhone or a
Yes.
Braille Sense or a laptop with JAWS to use it? You can't, there's no way to uh, um, attach a thumb drive, plug a thumb drive into it with information on it that you want to read on the dot pad. Am I correct
Correct.
about that?
Yes.
Hmm.
Yeah. It is solely a terminal display. There's no internal operating system with that. And
Right.
that was one of those choice moves, just because there's certain settings where you can only bring in a peripheral device that goes one way as far as the computer thinking goes,
Hmm.
and that's where the dot pad kind of serves within that niche. So yes, you will need to connect it
Oh.
to an output source.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah, I kind of thought that, but it doesn't hurt to ask the
Nope.
question anyway.
No, and what?
Thank, thank goodness it is very portable
Yeah,
then, because if you do need to carry something else with you,
yeah,
like your phone, which is also portable,
yes.
and for I specifically am interested in it because of the multi-line
Mhm.
display. Um, and I know with um, graphics, you need to download a program that will work with it to get those graphics. Do you need to download a different type of a program to get the multi-line display text?
No, no. So all of the screen readers will give multi-line Braille. Um,
Aha.
we do, and I brought up the dot books as a way for folks that would like to get multi-line BRF
Yes.
over to it, and looking for kind of a more seamless fashion of doing it, unless you're on a computer and just have your whatever you might be writing up and using, that you'd be able to get that output from the screen reader from that.
Hmm.
So that's
Okay.
yes.
Very good. Thank you.
No worries, Terry. Okay. So, all right. So one of my favorite, you got kids. I'll even put us adults in the same category. So you got uh, pre-Braille, early Braille, uh, early tactile literacy skills, and that's where I love the dot pad being used in this capacity. With being able to use apps like we have with Dot Canvas and be able to explore tactile graphics with it in a very controlled environment. Um, we have some AI solutions that are coming online. One of them is it's called Dot Explorer, and it'll be coming out here in the near future. And this is a way of learning Braille, where you're able to get tactile print as well as Braille for folks that are just learning Braille or at the very early phases of it to learn all the UEB1 and eventually UEB2. And so this is something that is coming up here in the near future. Like Terry mentioned with the Braille Sense, that we do got that partnership with Selvis, that they are going to be coming out with an update for both the Braille Sense 6 as well as it'll be a part of the Braille Sense 7, which is the ability of doing outputting from those Braille Sense lineups over to the dot pad. And the cool part with that is that Braille practice mode is you're able to, be able to do that learning in Braille as well as learning tactile print. Now, where I've seen this also be used, very nicely by schools, especially young kids that are learning, basic shapes and circles and just some of that. You got that para or that teaching assistant, and they can go into our mobile app called Dot Canvas or go on the web to Dot Canvas, and they could quickly come up with that drawing that that student needs for that class or that they are talking about and be able to draw it for them in real time. We could take some basic images, and by basic images, logos, line drawings, bar charts, line graphs, and that type of stuff, and be able to upload those images into Dot Canvas. So students can be able to access those graphics. And as you do that, you got an option determining how we call it sharpness, but it's easier to show than it is to explain, but it just has to do with the resolution of the image and how much information is being portrayed. Because the dot pad, it's a lot smaller than your image files. And when you start talking about resolution. And so what we're able to do within dot canvas is adjust it so it makes sense for us. We can do, me as a total blind person using a screen reader, I am able to go into dot canvas and be able to do some of my own drawings as well as uploading. I've done Pictionary with my kids. So got an eight and a 16-year-old. And so when we're in car rides, I'm able to toss them my iPad with dot canvas and be able and just do Pictionary with them. And other types of fun things. And so you could do some of these very same things with kids that are just learning Braille, as well as adults that folks are working with, newly blind adult or adults that may not have ever experienced tactile graphics. You're able to come up and start showing them and be able to use the dot pad in those types of settings and just other types of situations. We are for those little bit older kids. So looking at the middle schoolers and high schoolers, and then so secondary and then post-secondary that need graphing calculators. Dot Canvas here in about 2 weeks will have the ability of being a graphing calculator. So you can be able to do your own graphs, as well as I'm working with a couple of folks from Desmos right now. And we do have a proof of concept Desmos interface that outputs straight from Desmos to the dot pad. So you can use Desmos in that capacity, as well as, of course, like the Braille Sense, and they're using that Desmos API with their graphing calculator. And so that's also looking very, very nicely. So there's going to be many options, many ways for uh I'll yeah, give me a moment on that one. I'll have to think that one over. So yeah, there's some neat ways of being able to do it. And I know of a couple of other things that's in the process of being able to really make math kind of very interesting and done in a way that we're able to access it. Very nice. Um, so the question came up about the Braille note touch. And the way I look at any of the note takers or the Evolve and all the other standalone systems is that those are wonderful standalone systems. We use them, we have them. Like I said, I have my own that I use. We have those because those are all nice, all inclusive single line displays that you can do a lot with. Um, and this is where I have a hard time. It's me not trying to say one is better than the other. It has to do with what your primary use case scenario is. that where the dot pad really comes in nicely is that it does serve as a output for getting access to multiline. And so if that's one of your main needs, dot pad does this beautifully with being able to do that type of output. Whereas if you need that all-inclusive type device, okay, I could go and say you could add on a, like I said, the Orbit Writer, or use a keyboard with VoiceOver and kind of get that similar type of functionality out of an iPhone connected to a dot pad. But some people just want just that all-in-one device. And so that's where I'll just, I won't compare it, say one or over the other, just use case. Reason why the team over at HIMSS with the Braille Sense was like, let's make it so you can output from the Braille Sense to the dot pad. That was them thinking, well, let's take the best of both worlds and have a modular solution that allows you to do both. Where if you want the single line part, you can. If you want to access the multi-line part, you can. And so it's just kind of unique. And I look at any of those Windows-based note takers that are coming out, and if you're running JAWS with that, well, guess what? It's not a matter of whether or not that like the Evolve or something like that can work with the dot pad, because it's that screen reader. If that screen reader can work with the dot pad, the answer is yes, it would be able to too, because we're being driven by that screen reader. So I know it's not exactly answering that question about how does it compare with other devices, but it's my nice way of just saying, all these devices serve something specific, and I don't want to say one over the other. Just yeah. So
Deborah has a
other.
question.
Yeah, so my question, you were talking about early learning and people
Mhm.
just mastering Braille. So I was really curious if low vision learners or teachers who are reading the Braille visually, how good the contrast is, and also sighted teachers if they're trying to read the Braille visually, how good is the contrast for them to see those dots? I'll go back on.
It's a little bit difficult for folks to visually see the dots. You kind of will need to hold it at an angle to get the shadow right. Where we are working with like uh, Freedom Scientific and a couple others is to get those Braille viewers updated so that they do support multi-line displays. Because right now, none of those Braille viewers support multi-line displays. So it doesn't matter if it's DotPad or Monarch or New Haps or Cadence or whatever. None of the screen readers support multi-line Braille display or Braille viewers. And so that would be my way of answering that one, of saying, when that support comes, then that would be a lot easier for folks that need to be able to see the Braille and where they are and what it is that they are reading.
If I may add, this is Anat. I work with Team Adot, and I've seen many of you guys before. So I'm a fully sighted person, and just to address the question about how visible the Braille pins are, I have no problem seeing them. If you have low vision, you may need to fit a little bit with the lighting just to make sure that there is a little bit more contrast, because the pins and the background are kind of gray. There isn't a lot of visual contrast, but I think the pins stick out enough that for a person who is sighted, it's usually not a problem to see them.
So Chad, you have a small monitor that could, yeah, to be able to see it. Once again, for the being able to see the use that display, it's all going to be based on what that Braille viewer is able to show. Um, because if you plug it into the dot pad, it's the dot pad won't. It's basically you're plugging two monitors into each other, and so you won't get anything going on there. So it's all based on that output source. So whether it's a screen reader or something, what is the capabilities of that? So other questions or comments? Thank you, Svetlana. I appreciate it.
Tim,
I was
this is
just
Chad. I missed a couple parts of this presentation. Where's the recording going to be available at, if I may ask? Thank you.
Chad, this is Morgan. I'm one of the assistive technology specialists with the Vista Center, and this recording will be uploaded to our website at vistacenter.org under assistive technology and then Tech It Out. It will also be uploaded to our YouTube channel. So if you just go and search like Vista Center Tech It Out, you'll see a playlist and with all of the Tech It Outs that we've previously done. And this one will be uploaded there as well in a few weeks.
Thank you very much.
Margaret with another question.
Yes.
You talked about the dot cam and the dot books.
Mhm.
Are they do they work on all platforms like the Windows as well as iOS, or just Windows or iOS?
So Dot Canvas has two main versions. You got a web app that you can access from Windows and Mac using it works the best with Chrome. And then we have the mobile app for Dot Canvas, as well as a mobile app for Dot Books that is available for your iPhones and your iPads. And you could go to apps.incorp.com as a way of just accessing it from the web and be able to get to Dot Canvas from there. And that's also going to be, as we add more and more dot apps, that's also going to be one of the ways we add them, would be to that portal. And I will say right now, there are some very interesting developments that are occurring from end users that are developing their own apps. So I know of some very interesting situations where people have made Sudoku, and like a fully interactive Sudoku, not like where we're just popping it up in Excel or we're popping up in Word and playing Sudoku, but yeah, actually a fully refreshable Sudoku, as well as Othello, Battleship, Tetris, cute little Braille calendar type thing. And again, the possibilities are pretty endless because the neat part with Dot is we have our software development kit that is available on GitHub, and someone knows their way around that the coding, whether it's Python or whatever, they could start creating their own apps, their own solutions, their own tools that they would like to use the DotPad with. Got a couple of research projects doing exactly just that for CAD, as well as some other types of really unique interfaces. And that's without saying we have our own AI projects that are coming online this year. One of them is our partnership with Microsoft and their Copilot team, where you'd be able to upload a PowerPoint presentation and understand how that slide is laid out, as well as being able to access the text and be able to read it in a tactile manner. So we can understand just what is on the slide. As well as I mentioned our little Braille learning app that will be coming out. That's also AI driven, as well as we have a partnership with Google Gemini for being able to upload content predominantly for schools, as well as be able to use it to create tactile images. So got some really cool things that are coming up this year to really make more things possible for us.
Going to the kind of like card games you were mentioned, like Sudoku and
Yeah.
Battleship, which by the way, none of those have I ever played. But I'm thinking about it and I'm just like, I have we have a regular Braille deck of cards,
Mhm.
and then we have Uno as well, but just the regular Uno. And what I'd love to do, I'm not a coder, that my boyfriend is. But I'd love to have like Uno games that, because they've come out with like, I don't know, like a Harry Potter Uno and a this Uno and
Yeah.
that, like different versions. I'd love to have access to those. And it sounds like with the dot pad, that's a possibility if
You
you know
just
how.
Morgan, keywords right there. If you know how, if
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
how. That's like one thing I would love is to see someone be able to make an app or something where you're able to pull like, you got like T maps or you got the XR audio. It's like, imagine being able to get one of those things in real time over to one of
Yeah.
these displays and that's why I love what is possible with this technology, and that's
Mm,
part that gets me really excited. Is when I say versatility, it's the fact that the only thing that's going to hold something back is imagination and ability to code. Unfortunately, I'm not a coder either. I just know those words of you can make wonderful things happen with these weird strings of parentheses and brackets and spacing and stuff.
yeah.
But I yeah, no, so it's yeah. And just being able to play. So I've had people send me their stuff and it's like, oh my God, this is fucking awesome. Um, yeah, yeah. So yeah, and it's one of the things I love. So going back to that one question before about difference between these devices. It's analogy that I'll use. I'll also answer that question a little bit differently. Is we have JAWS and we have NVDA. JAWS is a fantastic. NVDA is fantastic. They both do great things. What's the big difference between the two? Is with NVDA, it's so much easier to create your own possibilities. With JAWS, I mean, scripting, I know y'all over there at Vista has done a great job with scripting over the years with JAWS. It's just, the possibilities comes down to what can you do with code? And you can make it do what you want it to do. And that's where I see the big, awesome piece of the dot pad is for the folks that know a bit about coding, you can make it do what you want it to do. And I'll give one case example is someone went over to GitHub, took our software development kit, loaded up into a certain AI of their choice and said, make it do this and tell me how to do it. Don't get me wrong, it took a few steps and a few jumps, like anything else with AI does, but they were able to do it. It wasn't anything, extravagant or anything, but the fact of the matter is they knew enough about coding to put one and one together, and then using like AI able to actually come up with solutions for themselves. It's like super cool. It's super cool. So. But yeah, I'll leave that to the coder. So if anyone here that knows a bit about coding, feel free to correct me or tell me tell me more on how I could say it better. So, other questions, comments, thoughts? Yes.
So I am a coder. I can write
Uh-huh.
Python. I was a software engineer for 30 years. So this is very exciting for me, and I will be downloading your developers kit just to take a look at it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, there's from what I understand from the people like you that knows what they're talking about and not people like me that just yeah doesn't know what they're talking about. The instructions for creating web apps and stuff for Windows and for iPhones and now Android are pretty good. And I actually have heard of someone that's looking of creating a export option in Orca. So it's like, that'd be really, really sweet. I can't wait to hear how that goes. So yeah, let me know how your experiences goes as you dive into it. Yeah, I think it's just doing a search for .incorporated SDK on GitHub.
Looks like there's two other people that also have their hands raised, but
Yep.
it just says two people.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not sure. Alice, do you know?
Kelly is one.
Okay.
Hey, Kelly.
Hey, so I'm the one that put in the chat the question about the new Braille Note Touch Plus is going to be coming out. I thought maybe it would be better if I gave an example of how I was thinking it would be used to make it a
Please.
little more clear. So I was thinking, because the new Braille No Touch Plus is Windows based, and the schools are all using Google Classroom, Google Docs, most of them are. So the new Braille No Touch Plus would then be able to accept assignments and stuff off of Google Classroom, but it wouldn't be able to show the graphics. So if a student gets something from a teacher that has both text and graphic, can the dot pad be connected to the Braille No Touch Plus? Because the Braille No Touch Plus won't be needing to be connected to a computer. It can get it itself. So can you connect the dot pad to the Braille Note, the new Windows based one, to get the graphic part of the assignment, but then have the input of the Perkins style keyboard from the Braille No Touch Plus? If that makes any more sense
Yes.
than the first
Yes.
time.
So looking at the key part comes down to is what's the capabilities of the screen reader. It's kind of my way of answering that. Where right now, JAWS and NVDA, even that Keysoft that they'll be using, it still does not do tactile graphics output. And that's where, depending on the way that image file is, if it's like a separate image file, it could be, if it's like PNG or JPEG or SVG type thing, it could be uploaded into .canvas and be able to access it through that way. So it's my short answer of ways of saying it's like not. I'll just say no to keep it simple, but it's a no but, and see the huge workaround worth of steps. And a lot of this, it's just waiting for the screen readers and everything to catch up with the technology for it to be able to have this as an output source. Because after all, I mean, the screen readers themselves have not gained access to multiline Braille till September of last year, and so it's going to be a little bit of time before a lot of the screen readers then come online, like VoiceOver did, to be able to do some form of tactile graphic output, especially when it's in that image type format. So.
Okay, so would it be more efficient then to hook it to an iPad that has VoiceOver to get that graphic?
I'll also say it depends on the graphic too. So things like bar charts and stuff, I've had pretty good success with uploading those into .canvas more than anything else, and being able to access it. In fact, I had a university send me a couple of their tests that are in Word format, and I was able to pull off those images with .canvas and be able to get it up. And that's just using .canvas. And that was me using .canvas on the web to upload those images. I know I'm not answering. I'm not giving you a definitive yes or no. And I think it is one of those hard ones that we just have to work it through type deal. What is that good workflow? And it's a good example of I'd love to go and get hands-on, just like what it is, some of those examples, and be able to say, okay, here's the steps that you can do, or here's not what's possible. So
Yeah.
it's hard. It's harder because, like I said, I have examples that I've been given, and some of them have worked great. I've had sitting down with some folks, and they're like, hey, let's pull up a topographical map because they're doing some work related to like geology, and they wanted to go and show the contours. And trying to bring that image was we were kind of able to get a topographical map with all the contour lines, but it was very difficult to read, which is one of the parts that I think we're starting to actually start to talk and kind of understand what is possible with tactile graphics with just going forward in a way that we never had before because of these types of devices. So
it's difficult as teachers because we don't get these devices. We can't have them in our hands and say, okay, I can get it to do this, I can get it to do this. So
yeah.
we're guessing. That's why it's difficult to make decisions for our students
Yeah.
with limited information, basically.
Any chance, are you going to be at CT BVI in April?
No, no.
Right. Shoot me a message. Let's get you connected with John over at Sterling Adaptives, so you can kind of get better hands-on
Okay.
with it. Because and again, I don't want to give a definitive yes or no, because I want to see if I wanted to see if what is fully possible uh,
Right.
with it. Because like I said, it's one set of quizzes and tests I've got. I was able to go upload it perfectly myself, answer the questions, and actually get them mostly right. By mostly right, I'm only 30, 40 plus years removed from school. So, yeah, my math sucks. So, but yeah, I'd rather be able to give you a definitive yes
Think too, if
by,
it prints on a Piaf machine, it will probably look fine on the dot pad, but if it's a mess, if you print it with a Piaf, it's probably not going to look good on a dot pad.
that's,
Okay. Thank you.
yep, I won't argue that one at all because, yeah. So, I know there's another hand that was raised too, besides you, Kelly. And like I said, Kelly, just shoot me an email. We'll get connected. Um, who's the other one that had their hand raised?
I think that was from when Deborah was talking.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't see any at the moment.
Just also reading a little bit about the device as well. And oh, okay.
Here we go.
Adele has her hand up.
Yep, and then one.
Yeah.
Oh.
There. Go ahead, Adele, if you can. I think we did see your chat comments. Try it.
Now, one of the other questions I was going through the chats about school age kids. This is going back over to the JAWS piece. It's one of the things I absolutely love about JAWS, Braille Split View, and Translate is that once they get the basics, so you got them on UEB1, getting them over to UEB2 becomes a lot easier because you're able to split the screen. So UEB1 is on the top, UEB2 is on the bottom. And this gives them a good chance of being able to go back and forth between the two to kind of see how the different parts of contractions and forms all work out and be able to have that side-by-side comparison. Well, technically it's top and bottom because it's not side by side, it's top and bottom. But yeah, anyways, it's kind of a neat thing as you're looking at those students that are going from 1 to 2, that it becomes really a lot of fun.
So much better than the days of having to use the big bulky Perkins and just go line by line and write over and over and over again.
Hey, we all learned from the same ways. I'm not going to say that I don't have somewhere on one of my tables somewhere in the house a big bunch of volumes on how to read. So, and there are some really cool. Just a side note, for folks that are learning, a couple of apps I'd love to give some, huge plugs to on VoiceOver in the App Store is Braille typing. It's a great way not just to learn reading Braille, but it teaches you how to use Braille screen input, which again, it's absolutely fantastic tool there in VoiceOver. And another one that I just came across is page do 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 do. Yeah, PAIGE Braille. Another really really neat little tool available there on the App Store for anyone that's trying to teach folks or folks that are moving from old school American Braille over to UEB, and you got those yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Real quick, Adele, I know your hand's up, but if you're still muted, if you're able to unmute,
Hola.
there you go.
Greetings to you. Sorry to be late for this Zoom meeting about which I had been informed via the Braille Foundation's newsletter early last week about the dot pad and Braille Sensing and or other or anything to allow the beginners in Braille, I believe.
Yeah. No, appreciate it. And I absolutely loved Braille lists. I love them even more since I get to work with Dave Williams on a daily basis. So yeah, yeah, no, appreciate it.
Alert, hand now lowered.
So yeah,
Sorry.
no, appreciate it. So
J'essaie d'analyser le sujet. Je sais pas combien de temps ça. Ok, voilà.
okay. So well, if folks want to go and get a hold of me and learn more about the DotPad, you can feel free to send me an email at timothy@dotandcorp.com. That's TIMOTHY period. Or sorry, TIMOTHY at DOTINCORP.com. Also, you can find more about Dot by going to our website at dotandcorp.com. We also have a great podcast series called Raising the Dots that you can find on your favorite podcast player. Just do a search for Raising the Dots, and that's our monthly podcast hosted by Dave Williams, where it's just not about Dot Incorporated, that it is about our community and getting to learn more and more about the ways that we are leveraging both Braille and other technologies in our lives. We also do talk about Dot Incorporated too. Don't get me wrong, it's just about a broader vantage point too. As well as we do have a monthly webinar that we usually do about the second Monday of the month. This month we'll be at CSUN, so we will be postponing it by a couple weeks. And you can find more about that you can send me an email and I'll get you hooked up to our newsletter, or by going to our website and subscribing to our newsletter there. So with that stated, any other questions or thoughts, feel free. Otherwise, shoot me a message and I'll follow up with y'all. Perfect.
I didn't know if Deborah had her hand raised or if she left. Okay. Oh, good. Good to know, Spatsana. I'll have to go and check it out. Well, thank you everyone for attending and being here. We really appreciate it, and we will see everybody next month. And a big special thank you to Dotpad and Tim.
Yeah. Well, appreciate y'all for having us. And anyone going to see Sun? See y'all next week.
All right.
Thanks very much.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.